Okay. So today is a final session of this semester, session number 24 of Ready Fusion category. In fact, the second semester. So next semester we will not be a third. Next semester will not be a third semester on this paper. So next semester we don't know yet what we will do, but we will not continue this paper. We will do something else. Maybe it will be related to Ready Fusion category. For example, we can consider the paper of Davidoff et al. On WIT group, etc. Or we can also consider to give a class on our paper on Watanabe's theorem, or something else. We did not choose yet. Okay, so yesterday we finished what was the main motivation for this class, the section 5 regarding core and weakly anisotropic classification and type, etc. So that was very important. The core of a Ready Fusion category is weakly anisotropic. And the weakly anisotropic decompose, at least in the ordinary case, decompose like that. And weakly anisotropic, there are three fundamental types, three mutually exclusive case. So this is, as you can think that as the beginning of an entire theory about weakly anisotropic braided fusion category. And as I said, because the core of a weakly anisotropic is anisotropic, up to some details, you may be able to restrict to anisotropic, in fact. So braided fusion category without Tannakian subcategory except Beck. So yesterday we started the bonus section on Gauss sum. So the Gauss sum, so we explained that it's an invariant. So this invariant exists at the classical level for premetric group. So we will recall what is known for premetric group, and then we will see that all the results generalize to premodular category, I guess. And in particular, one important result is that you can relate the Gauss sum invariant of a braided fusion category or a premodular category with its fiber category, in particular with its core. So it is the same up to multiplying by a dimension of the Tannakian category. And then there is another invariant we will explain. It's called the central charge. And so then we will see that the central charge is invariant by taking the fiber category, in particular, and invariant by taking the core. And we will see also that the central charge of the Drinfeld center is always 1. It will depend on the convention you use. It is multiplicative central charge or additive central charge, etc. Is 1 if it is multiplicative, 0 if it is additive. So in particular, it's a good way to see that it's a sufficient condition to see that a modular category is not a Drinfeld center if its multiplicative central charge is not equal to 1. And not equal also to the core of the Drinfeld center because it's invariant. Anyway, so let's recall what is known now for premetric group. So let GQ be a premetric group. So it's Gauss sum are defined by the classical formula. So tau plus or minus 1. So there are two two Gauss sum, one for plus, one for minus. The sum of for all elements in the group of the value of the quadratic form, plus or minus 1. This is equation 1, 2, 1. So, in fact, the tau minus is just the complex conjugate of tau plus. We recall the basic property of Gauss sums clearly. So tau minus GQ, tau plus GQ bar, complex conjugate, and this is clear because since Q of A is a root of unity, see remark 237. And so the primitive root theta n complex conjugate is just the inverse. And so here is the first typo I made. So when I did this remark last semester, I made a typo. So be careful. I made typo last semester. In this remark, you have qg power n equal qg power n, and in fact, I wrote it this way, but in fact, it should be qg power n square. Let me write another color. N square. So I forgot the square. I forgot the square last semester. Anyway, it does not matter. You see, so with square, which is correct, but even without square, which is not correct, but in both cases, you get that this is a root of unity because G is a finite group, so G is a finite order. So if you take nth order of G, you have that this is the n square root of unity. No problem. In particular, you have that because it is this sum. And the complex conjugate is linear. So, the anti-linear. Is additive. Yeah, complex conjugate is additive. Okay, so moreover, if GQ is an orthogonal direct sum of G1 Q1 and G2 Q2, then tau plus minus GQ is the product of the two. So a direct sum, orthogonal direct sum, orthogonal for the bilinear form induced by Q, bicharacter, but it's called bicharacter. In fact, so this sum transforms into something multiplicative for the Gauss sum. And here, yeah. Here, here what I want to say, so it's let's see as an exercise. Maybe the hint is that G1, so remember G1 orthogonal to G2 if and only if. For all Gi in Gi, you have B G1 G2, which is equal to 1. But this is equal to but B G1 G2 is Q G1 G2 divided by Q G1 Q G2. So the fact that it is equal to 1, so equal 1 if and only if you have QG1 G2 equal Q G1 G2 QG1 QG2. Okay. So this is the meaning of being orthogonal. And using that, it is easy to, so then it's immediate. It's an easy exercise. Using that you can get that. In fact, I did not check, but I expect this to be straightforward. Okay. So now, let GQ be a premetric group. So a subgroup H in G is called isotropic. And in fact, so there is a problem in their paper because they put this definition after it was used several times in the previous section. So at least they should, when it is used in the previous section, I had to, when you read the paper for the first time, you read isotropic. It's not, the definition is not written. You have to guess what they are meaning. And in fact, when I guessed, I made a mistake. My first guess was isotropic mean the subgroup is multiplicative with the quadratic form, which is true, but isotropic is much stronger than that. Isotropic means the quadratic form is trivial on the subgroup. In particular, it is multiplicative, but trivial. And in fact, the distinction between being multiplicative, being a group morphism, and being trivial is the same distinction between symmetric subcategory and Tanakian subcategory. Isotropic, but multiplicative quadratic form for a subgroup correspond to symmetric subcategory. So in my mind, I mixed these two, but so isotropic really correspond to Tanakian. So that's why I have to make erratum, in fact, correspond associated to some comment I put. So it was in a comment I wrote in definition 522 and remark 467. So I already mentioned 522 yesterday, but also the comment of remark 467, I wrote the wrong definition for isotropic. I wrote just multiplicative or more. It is just meaning that is trivial for the quadratic form. Anyway, it has no much importance. So the main point of this class is for general ready diffusion category, in which you don't have this problem. So if the restriction of QH is trivial, which means restriction to Q is always 1. So my first comment regarding just the way the paper was written is that this definition is too late. Too late. Since used before without reference to it. So at least you can write the definition and you can refer to it even if it is written later, but there is no reference to it. This created confusion to me. So potentially for other reader also. Anyway, other comment. So yeah. So I wrote a wrong definition in comment of definition 522 and remark 467. I wrote the wrong definition. So the wrong definition was QH H prime equal QH. So this is not wrong because this is trivially true if Q is trivial, but it's strictly weaker. So it is strictly weaker. It is strictly weaker than QH equal 1. And in fact, if the group, for example, if the group has odd order, it is equivalent. If the group is even order, it is, so this is an interesting remark. So by assumption, QG equal QG inverse. So if QG inverse equal QG inverse, then QG square equal 1. So QG equal plus or minus 1. In particular, if the order of the element is odd, then QG equal 1. So it was not essentially false. It was very close to be true. So as close to be true, as close as Tanakian and symmetric are close. In fact, you see you have the sign. The sign is distinct. When you have minus, it's really typically when something is not symmetric but not Tanakian. Particular if she's odd, so always true. So always true. If the cardinal of G is odd. Anyway, in general, it's not true. So isotropic subgroup H, which mean QH equal 1. This corresponds to Tanakian subcategory when you consider the category. And this implies, symmetric subcategory. But of course, the converse is not true. So this is the same here. You cannot go. And what the meaning of symmetric? Symmetric just mean QH H prime equal QH QH prime. Because symmetric, this is equivalent to BH H prime equal 1. And this corresponds to CX. What was the symmetric? Ah, wait, maybe there's still something. Symmetric is no, symmetric is just that. Wait, I forgot the definitions. No, symmetric is that. Compose C y x equal identity of x tensor y. So I feel like this corresponds to this, and this one corresponds to identity, etc. Anyway, so be careful about these two mistakes I made in comment of that and that. I use the wrong definition of isotropic. It should be that, but I wrote that. But this has no consequence. It was just a comment. Okay, let's continue. So in this case, so now you have isotropic. So if H is an isotropic subgroup, then H is included in the orthogonal. And this is immediate by that inside, this implication, because you have this orthogonality here. H is orthogonal with itself. So it's included in this orthogonal. So where H orthogonal denote orthogonal complement of H with respect to the bicharacter B. Okay. Associated to Q. So as I said, this is just right. This formula. Okay. In addition, the restriction of Q to the orthogonal is the pullback of a quadratic form as follow: Q tilde from H orthogonal quotiented by H to something like that. And here, so I don't go into the details about that. It's not, we are in the bonus part. So what is important here is that this is the analog of the fiber category. In particular, if H is a maximal isotropic subgroup, this is analog of the core. H bar H orthogonal quotiented by H is analogous to this. Okay. Yeah. Okay. proposition, and in fact, the Gauss sum is the Gauss sum of the first, the Gauss sum of what? Of G. Gauss sum is this Gauss sum of that times the cardinal of H. And this is this formula which will be generalized to any premodular category, which is so the generalization of this formula is the main result of this section. So the Gauss sum of a premodular category is equal to the Gauss sum of its fiber category times the dimension of the Tarakian subcategory. So in the premetric group, you write it this way. In this situation, tau plus minus GQ cardinal of H times tau plus minus this. Okay, and the proof is as follows. So take an element of the group, then the sum for all the elements on all these elements of H of QGH is equal to QG sum for H in H of BGH, and that, let me explain why this one. This is because BGH, which is QGQ, maybe I wrote the other one. QGH. So I wrote the wrong way here. Where is it? Here it should be. QG1, QG2 divided by QG1, G2. But it's okay. The fact that it is equal to 1 makes the result the same. So you have that. And I forgot which color I used. Okay. But this is equal to QG divided by QGH because since QH equal 1, because H is isotropic, since H isotropic, so this is equal to what? Yeah, so it's okay. So you have that. So you can put this Q out, and there only remain. So you have that. So that is yeah. So maybe I wrote the wrong way again. Wait, QGH. Maybe I was. Let me check. Let me check quickly. Wait a minute. Premetric. Where is QGH divided by QH, QG, yeah, so I was. Sorry. In fact, what I wrote before was correct, and this is this one which is not correct. So QGH divided by QG, So wait. So I have to to come back there. Sorry. Q G1, G2, Q G1, Q G2. Okay, so here it's equal to, so again QH equal 1, so it's QGH divided by QG. So QGH, so now it's fine. So QGH is equal to that times time, like that. So you put this out and I remain that, and we are done. Okay. And now the next step is that this is equal to, but this this is equal to what? Zero if G is not in the orthogonal, and to cardinal of H if G is in the orthogonal. So the second one is okay. The first one require maybe an exercise. So the second one is trivially okay, because if G is in the orthogonal, then this is 1 for H cardinal of H times, so we have that. If G is not in the orthogonal, so this is not equal to 1, but I guess maybe you should arrange something regarding root of unity. Remember that, so this is an exercise here. But the hint is that maybe the hint is sum of, for k equals 0 to n minus 1 of zeta nk equals 0. So the sum of all the root of unity, the n root of unity equal to 0. When you see the root of unity, you can see it as a equidistributed point on the circle, and you sum everything, you get 0. So I feel like this 0, and this is 0 only when n is not equal to 1. So n for n not equal to 1. N greater than 1, because when n equal 1, this sum is just a sum of one element, which is equal to 1. When you have one root of unity, is just that one, just one. Then when you have 2, you have 0. When you have 3, which is something like that, it is 0, etc. But it is 0 except when n equal 1. That's why this corresponds to n equal 1, and this should correspond to n greater than 1. But I did not go into more details. I guess you have, maybe with an exercise, you have to show where the root of unity appear. But okay. And so, yeah. So this is the end of the proof, because when it is, I guess it is the end of the proof. So when, yeah. So what about, so you should see, so you start from that. So what was the definition of, yeah. So say it is plus. So sum of all the elements. Okay, so then I guess it's an exercise to finish the proof. So you need to do some exercise to finish the proof. You have to deal with some quotient, etc. So exercise, finish. OK. Position 6.1. OK. So next. So now there is a notion of the analog of Lagrangian here, an isotropic subgroup H of a premetric group G is called Lagrangian. And in fact, again, it may be better if I put this, in fact, this section before, at the beginning of the paper, because you have all the notions you will meet in the paper about isotropic, Lagrangian, or even the fiber category appear in a easy setting for premetric group. So instead of writing that as a section 6, in fact, in my opinion, it would be better to replace all the warm-up regarding Lie coalgebra, which I omitted, which is a little bit complicated to me because I am not comfortable with Lie coalgebra, replaced by all this basic thing about premetric group at the beginning would be better. The point is that here this is directly related to Gauss sum also. So they did not want to talk about Gauss sum at the beginning, but it was a choice. But I don't know. Maybe you should talk about Gauss sum for premetric at the beginning, and then write a subsection, the section 6 for Gauss sum in general. Anyway, I guess it's the way is largely perfectible. Okay, and of course here this Lagrangian is analog. Is like a Tannakian subcategory is called Lagrangian. So this is the exact analog if you have that. So yeah, for sure it would be much better to have this subsection for premetric group at the very beginning of the paper. Okay, so corollary. Corollary 6.2. Which point? So let PQ be a premetric group and H in G, the Lagrangian subgroup. In fact, yeah, remember I talked about Lagrangian subgroup. I mentioned the notion of Lagrangian subgroup maybe before, without definition. So, yeah. Then the Gauss sum of G is equal to the cardinal of H. And that's immediate. This is immediate by this proposition. Because if it is Lagrangian, then this is equal to 1. It is equal to 1 because you have this. So, immediate by proposition 6.2. Since H is you have that. Ok. Isotropique. Euh, yeah, isotropique. MH, isotropique. Okay. So next corollary. A little bit less immediate. 6.3. So now you consider a metric group, which is this correspond to non-degenerate radiate fusion category, or correspond to modular category in the spherical case. Then the Gauss sum. Oh wait. Then tau plus GQ times tau minus GQ is equal to the cardinal G. And the proof. Proof of that. In fact, use the ID that the idea in category theory that non-degenerate or a modular category is factorizable. So consider the orthogonal direct sum of GQ and GQ inverse. So which is analog? Analog of C, the link tensor C up, which is equivalent to the Rietveld center of C if and only if C non-degenerate. And here is analog of non-degenerate. In fact, metric is already defined as non-degenerate quadratic form. Okay, so you have that, and this is this was factorizable, the notion of factorizable. Okay, and then you take the diagonal embedding, the diagonally embedded sub. Let me finish the proof and then we will make the pause. Subgroup G in G cross G, or G plus G if you prefer, is a Lagrangian subgroup. So that should be checked in exercise. And so then up to this exercise, so I guess we need to use non-degeneracy, otherwise the result will be true for pre-metric group here. If I specify metric, so you need to use some non-degeneracy. So it should be related to that. Can be a hint, in fact, for this exercise. Use non-degeneracy. Subgroup. And the result follow by the previous corollary. Because in this case, the previous corollary is saying that you have a Lagrangian subcategory, and then the Gauss sum is the order of the Lagrangian subcategory. Here, G is the Lagrangian subcategory, so the Gauss sum is the order of G. Wait. Why? Why it's like that? Wait. Should be. So wait, let me check. Maybe I wrote something wrong. Now apply 6.2. Wait. Oh, maybe they omit. Maybe there is a square here. There should be a square. There may be a typo there. Typo in the paper. So omitted in the paper. Following this proof, G is a Lagrangian subcategory. So according to the corollary, the Gauss sum is the cardinal of G. So you multiply 2 times the Gauss. It's a square, but what is the point? Otherwise, so you have to write. So you have to write this way, or you may have to write this way. Q equal cardinal of G. So omitted in the paper. So typo, or I'm missing something. Anyway. Okay. Yeah. Bench. The square. Oh, plus minus G. No. Wait. No. Sorry. I'm wrong. The point is that here, you apply the previous corollary to this direct sum. So the G in this corollary is not the same G. It's the direct sum of the two G. And so the Gauss sum here should be the product of the two Gauss sum, because so we need to apply proposition. Wait. This one. You also need to apply this thing. So sorry, it was correct. We shift the pause by 5 minutes, but it does not matter. Yeah, the Gauss sum of GQ plus GQ inverse is a Gauss sum of GQ inverse, which is equal to Gauss sum of GQ Gauss sum minus plus GQ. Something like that. Okay. So pause. Okay. Okay. So we're almost done with geometry group. We will very soon start about premodular category. Okay, so the premetric group is called hyperbolic if it admits the Lagrangian sum. If G is a metric group, so non-degenerate quadratic form, and H in G is Lagrangian, then the cardinal of H is square root of the cardinal of G. So this is, I guess it is immediate by what we saw before. Yeah, that should be immediate by that. Let's see. By that and by that. Yeah, like these two things. Immediate. By corollary. 6263. And then, so you have that. In particular, the order of a premetric group of the order of hyperbolic metric group is a perfect square. Perfect square. And here also you have something analog. So recall theorem 464. For non-degenerate braided, you have, what do you have? To be center of pointed is equivalent to contain, so to be hyperbolic if you like, to contain Lagrangian subcategory. And this rep G, and here it is of this form, the unitary center of vec G omega. And the dimension, so C, dimension of C equal dimension of E square. So you have this square, wait, yeah, so maybe it's better to write this way. Cardinal of G equal cardinal of H square. It's a perfect square, trivially. So this equality corresponds to this equality. Okay. And then the corollary 6.2 imply that if the premetric group GQ is hyperbolic, then tau plus minus GQ is a positive integer. But the converse is not true, but is partially true as follows. The following partial converse hold. So we will see a partial converse stated in this proposition, proved in appendix proposition. And then next a remark saying that the converse is not true in general, only partially true. So let GQ be a metric group. So now you need to assume metric instead of premetric. Metric group such that tau plus minus GQ positive integer, and cardinal of G is a prime power, P power n, then GQ is hyperbolic. And so the proof is given in appendix of the paper. Section 8.2. Okay. So now why the full converse is not true? This is what we will see in this remark. And then we will talk about M-modular category and its Gauss sum and central charge. So it's important. So let's quickly finish regarding this remark. To start, some more important points. So the following example explain why the assumption that G is a P group is necessary. So order of G is a prime power, it means it's a P group in previous proposition. So let P1, P2 be distinct primes. Then, so there exists metric group GI, QI, I equal 1, 2, such that cardinal of GI is or such that is the power of PI, or GI is a PI group. GI is a PI group. And tau plus GIQI is a negative integer. So the example is proposition A3 in appendix. So let GQ be the orthogonal direct sum of the two. Then the product of two negatives is positive. Be the orthogonal direct sum of G1, Q1 and G2, Q2. Then tau plus GQ is a positive integer. But since neither G1 nor G2 admit the Lagrangian subgroup, neither does G. Okay, so we don't need to spend too much time on that. This proposition also, they wrote that this proposition is also true for premetric group. So let's write that, and then we will talk about premodular category. So proposition 6.4 remain valid for premetric P group. This generalization follow easily from proposition 6.4 itself. So exercise. And maybe the hint is consider the analog of the Drinfeld center. And you transform a premetric into a metric, and maybe this is my my first guess. Anyway, so I would say analog of Drinfeld center. Or the explicit Drinfeld center, if you consider the category, etc., which is metric. And I guess we discussed that in some previous section. So Gauss sum and central charge in premodular categories. So I will try to provide as much information as possible because this is the last time we will talk about that in this class, this semester. And if I cannot reach, and I will certainly not be able to reach the main result, I will, so at the end, I will go as much as possible up to the end, and at the end, I will just take a few minutes to just state the main result, and then we will end the class. So let C be a premodular category. So the Gauss sums of C are defined by, so this is more or less the same thing as for premetric group, but remember, the big difference between premetric group and general premodular category is that the simple object may not be invertible. In particular, they have a dimension which is not 1. So this is the same thing as premetric group, but now you need to multiply by categorical dimension. This is and this example is just saying what I just said, that in the pointed case, you will recover the usual premetric group. Let's see be the pointed premodular category C GQ from section 2.11.5. Then the simple objects are just the group itself. The dimension is 1 for all elements that are all invertible. And the twist is just the value of the quadratic form by equation 26. Then the Gauss sum coincide of the premodular category, pointed premodular category, coincide with the classical Gauss sums defined in 1-to-1. Okay. So more generally, for the pointed premodular category, for the pointed premodular category C, J, Q, some twist I forgot from section 2.11.6, we have tau plus minus C equal tau of G theta, where theta of G is QG chi of G. Okay. Okay, so now let us summarize the basic properties of the Gauss sum and of the twist. We now summarize some basic properties of twist and Gauss sum following, for example, Bacalov-Kirillov. Bacalov-Kirillov, 2001, section 3.1 for the proof. Okay, so exactly as for parametric group, the direct sum, the direct sum for parametric group correspond to the line tensor product of category. In fact, the direct, you can ask how a sum corresponds to a product, because in fact, when you consider the product, when you consider the product of abelian group is the same as direct sum of abelian. So first, so for any premodular categories C1, C2, the Gauss sum of C1 de line tensor C2 is the product of the two Gauss sum. 1, 2, 3 equation. Second result. The twists are root of unity. In particular, the Gauss sum is a cyclotomic integer, algebraic integer. Every x simple, the twist theta x is a root of unity. In particular, the Gauss sum is a cyclotomic algebraic integer, which is what we mean by this symbol. Third result. If C is modular, then the product of the Gauss sum plus and minus is the dimension of the category, in fact, exactly as for metric group. And we have that. But this is true in general, in fact. That's why they put this here. That's strange. Why they put that here? So I guess the first one is true for modular, but this is true in general. By definition, wait. No. Wait, no. Dx square. It's spherical, so this is an integer. This is a root of unity. So it should be true in general. I don't know why I wrote it this way. Let me see if I make something wrong. Right, just a summary, but well. So if I'm not mistaken, if I am not mistaken, true also for premodular. Yeah, because you should just use that. Okay, and then fourth point. If C is modular also, the element tau plus C divided by tau minus C is a root of unity. Is root unity. So the statement 2 and 4 were obtained by Anderson-Moore, were obtained in the work of Anderson-Moore 1988 and Vafa 1987. Okay. So now recall that the categorical dimension of C is a totally positive element of the maximal cyclotomic subfield, the maximal cyclotomic subfield K psych in K. So we don't care about that, just consider K equals C and you consider the field of cyclotomic algebraic number. So fixing and embedding psych into C, we define the multiplicative central charge. multiplicative central charge. So this is an important invariant of the category by so psi C to be the plus Gauss sum divided by the root of C, 1 to 5. So this is important. Multiplicative charge, central charge. So you see this, the product is equal to that, but one is a complex conjugate of the other. So, in fact, both are the square root of dimension up to some root of unity, according to that. And so, if you just divide by the square root, what you get is the root of unity as an invariant. It is called the multiplicative central charge. So where this denotes the positive square root. So since you have that, if you apply the square, psi c square is equal to so plus c square dimension c, which is equal to plus c square divided by plus c minus c, which is equal to tau plus c divided by tau minus c. It follows from proposition 674 just before, that it's the root of unity. That psi c is a root of unity. So remark 6.8. First point. So if the dimension of C is the square of an integer, then psi of C is independent of the embedding like that. So otherwise it may be dependent. So be careful. Exercise. In particular, this hold where fpdim of C is a square of an integer. In fact, when you consider integral modular fusion category, most of the it's very rare to find modular fusion category which are not integral modular fusion category whose dimension is not a square of an integer. I'm not sure even if I know a counterexample. Many examples come from the Infeld center, so it's automatically the square of an integer. Anyway, in particular, this hold when the first power dimension of C is a square of an integer since in that case the dimension of C equals the Frobenius bound dimension of C. By proposition 218. And in fact, this equality we don't need the Frobenius power dimension to be the square of an integer. In fact, just being the square root of an integer is enough. Just for this equality. Weakly integral enough here. Yeah. Square root of an integer. Anyway, just this equality, maybe not the rest, I did not check. Second remark. So Bacalov-Kirillov used another notation, use a different convention. So according to BK definition 579, theorem 5711, their multiplicative central charge, multiplicative central charge equal psi c equal tau plus c divided by tau. So this is just the square root. So this is another convention. Be careful. As explained. So they explain, as explained in Bacalov-Kirillov, this ratio tau plus c, tau minus c, measure the anomaly of the modular functor stated with C. Measure the anomaly of the modular functor associated to C, with C. So if you want to have more details about that, you should check this paper of Bacalov-Kirillov. Third point, and this is also very important. When K equals C, many authors use the Virasoro central charge. So which is an element in Q divided by 8z. So it's a rational up to multiple of 8, which is related to the multiplicative central charge. And by that, I guess they mean the one defined first in this paper and not the one of Bacalov-Kirillov. This way. Pi I C over 4. In particular, this means nothing. Yeah. So you can have some. So C is just a rational number. Modulo 8. Okay. So that's important. Yeah, the next example is very important. also. Example. The Drinfeld Center. The C of any spherical fusion category. C is a modular category of dimension dim C square, as we mentioned in section 2.9. And by Muger, 2003, theorem 1, 2. In this case, the Gauss sum of the two Gauss sum of the Drinfeld center are equal to the dimension of the category. So since dimension of C is so it's complicated notation. So it's a real algebraic cyclotomic integer. Is in fact totally positive. But just take k equals c and you don't need to care about this complicated notation. C section, it follow that, and this is important, the multiplicative central charge of the Drinfeld center for any embedding k sec into C equal 1. Now this is very important. The multiplicative central charge equal to 1. Important. Because then a modular fusion category with central charge different from 1 cannot be a Drinfeld center. So there is you cannot, if you are looking for model, you have a new modular fusion category and you know the multiplicative central charge is not 1, you cannot find a model as a Drinfeld center. And by the next, so now I will stop here, but let me just state the main result. I will just write the title and state the main result, and then we will stop here. By the main result of the next section, in fact, if the multiplicative central charge is not 1, it cannot be a Drinfeld center, but it cannot be also a fiber functor of a Drinfeld center, a fiber category of a Drinfeld center. In particular, it cannot be the core of a Drinfeld center, also because the multiplicative central charge is invariant by fiber category. Gauss sum of a fiber category and invariance of the central charge. So let me write. Wait. Let me take a few minutes to write very quickly the main result. So I will skip the introduction and the lemmas. I will skip that. So what should I write? Yeah. So C paper. Here is the main result of the section theorem 616. So let C be a pre-modular category and let E in C be an isotropic Tanakian subcategory. So usually Tanakian is isotropic, but you have to take the usual spherical structure. So be careful. Here, isotropic means phi x equal identity of x for all x in here. Always true. Always true for the usual spherical structure. In fact, if you have the usual spherical structure, isotropic is equivalent to Tanakian. But this, yeah, because the twist corresponds to the quadratic form, isotropic for parametric group is all the twist is trivial. Here, it means all the quadratic form is trivial. Here, all the twist is trivial. But it's equivalent to Tanakian with the usual spherical structure. So then you have this. So the main result is that tau plus minus of C is tau plus minus of the fiber category times the dimension of E. Okay, so this is very important. So this is very nice. And what else am I write? Yeah. Hmm. A corollary. Let me write corollary 618, and then I will stop here. So let E in C be an isotropic Tanakian subcategory. Subcategory of a premodular category C, then the multiplicative central charge of the fiber category is equal to the multiplicative central charge of C itself, which is also very important. And we will finish by this last sentence. That is the central charge is invariant under passing to the fiber category, in particular the core. Okay, so end of the class. Okay. So see you next semester if you. I don't know what I will teach next semester, but I will keep the same WeChat group in which I will put the information in the appropriate time. So see you next semester.